What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. I have hosted and produced over 2,000 epic conversations over the last 10 years. And what makes our conversations epic? We don't do interviews. We do conversations. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also know that I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you know that I always love having new friends come on the Dr. Vibe Show, which is the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And we have another new friend tonight doing her first YouTube live conversation on, and period, not on Dr. Vibe, anywhere. It's just brand new for her. So she just found that out a few moments ago, which is even better, but she's got it down. She knows how to handle it. Our new friend is Carol Bluestein. Let me give you a little background about herself. She lives in Slingerlands, New York, and is the author C.L. Bluestein of 3 published fiction thriller novels. She can actually put them up right now if she wants. And in the Seduction series, the first one is called Seduction, Love, Loss, Leverage, and Murder, which was published in 2015. I love this on prompts. The number 2 one is Perception.
Where is it? There it is.
There's Perception, Love, Loss, Leverage, Murder, 2016.
It's like I'm driving a car.
Yeah, exactly. and Isolation, Love, Loss, Leverage, Murder, 2017. She's the author of You Want Me to Do What? A contemporary presentation of the Exodus story, which, through a series of interfaith playlets, lets participants walk in the sandals of our ancestors. The free download can be at her you can get the free download at her website, carolbluestein.com. She's also a member of the International Women's Writing Guild. She's also a contributor, which I am also, of the Good Men Project. In her written work, she also expresses her entrepreneur skills in arts management, computer and business consulting, teaching, public speaking, and professional photography. Her hobbies include #resist, which we'll get into maybe a little bit, but I know there's a further conversation coming with that because she's not had the greatest of days. We may get into that today, we may not. Gardening, improv, designing and executing functional and decorative projects in wood, metal, cement, and mixed media. She's surrounded by family and 2 rescued schnoodles. I love what the schnoodles are all about. There we go. So she's going to be here tonight for the next few moments sharing about her great article, Men Develop Lasting Relationships by Shelving Male Expectation Myths. And with all that's going on, politically these days, and also in society, this is a very relevant conversation at this time. So let us welcome Carol Bluestein. How are you this evening?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here because we have actually talked on the phone, but this is, our first real conversation.
Yes, we have talked on different conference calls by the Good Men Project, and when I reached out to Carol, she said, "I'd be honored." I go, "Wow, so I better get her on if she'd be honored." So, Carol, what we love to do with especially new friends on the Dr. Vibe shows is they can give a little bit of background, where you grew up, life growing up, etc. We'd really appreciate that.
I was born in Brooklyn.
All right.
And on Ocean Parkway. My father's family was from Brooklyn, so we lived around, that enclave. And then my parents moved to White Plains, and I grew up in the White Plains school system. Then I went to George Washington and then NYU, where I met my husband. We got married, moved to New Paltz, and he started to work with IBM. I got my teaching degree, but I really spent my time doing nonprofit work for B'nai B'rith Women, and I was one of the first women elected head of a region. So that was kind of exciting.
Fantastic.
And then
that's great.
And then I taught myself computers. And
hold on, you taught yourself computers? What was the interest back a number of years ago to get into computers?
I had to have one. I'm a gadget person.
Ah,
The
okay.
very first one I had was, I think, 5 meg of storage, and it looked like a box with a ribbon across the top, which was the screen, and you could type and just see the letters going across, like a ticker tape
Yep.
kind of thing. And then I got the first IBM home computer,
Wow.
and I couldn't work it because it doesn't come with programs. You had to learn BASIC.
Yeah.
So I started learning some BASIC, and then I started adding some programs as they came out. And then they never did what I wanted them to do. So I learned how to program to get the program that I needed to work the way I wanted it.
So you're a gadget girl.
I'm a gadget girl.
And so gadget girl, gadget lady, not gadget girl, gadget lady. So what were some of your careers before you got into what you're doing now?
I did arts management.
Okay.
And then I went into the computers, and I started teaching, and then I started getting private contracts. So I became a full-time consultant for a number of years. And then I decided I didn't want to keep up with the changes that were happening in the computer industry. You know, Microsoft was adding new programs and backgrounds and stuff, and I just didn't want the hassle. So I happened to take some pictures.
Happened.
And people really liked them.
Happened. Okay. Happened to take some pictures. Okay.
And I really didn't have any business, I was told, being able to do it. But I was able to catch people at the peak of expression. You know, wait for that moment where they're alive in the image. So I started doing parties and then weddings. And then I moved into professional photography for about 20 years.
Wow. How was that experience?
It was very interesting. I had had a lot of business experience and a lot of networking experience, and I was going to be a public speaker.
Okay.
But I felt after I got Lyme disease in the 90s, I couldn't be sure of my words all the time.
Okay.
And I took all those skills working with people, because if people can help you direct what they want for their weddings, then you can give them the pictures that they're expecting.
It's a great thought process. I fully agree. Fully agree.
So the weddings were about them, and
yeah.
To make it a little bit easier, I did a pre-wedding shoot.
Yeah.
And I would let the guys pick out the girl's picture, and the girl pick out the guy's picture.
Interesting.
And what's very interesting about that
Yeah.
is that we don't realize what expressions the people we love really love on us. We only think about how close we look to a movie star or what's our best shot. It was very interesting. Girls would go, "You like that one?" And he said, "Yes, you smile, you look happy, you're beautiful." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And then the finished end of that is that when I did the wedding pictures, they relaxed and were themselves because they knew that they looked beautiful because the other one had already told them that.
Wonderful. Before we go any further, I just want to shout out Think TV. Thank you again for jumping on. And if you have any questions or comments for Carol, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'll certainly get her to answer whatever you have to ask or provide any. Okay, no problem. She goes, "I apologize for miswording question on the last previous conversation." She said she was busy cooking and listening. No worries. Yeah, I accept people where they're at, so no problem. That's all good. So how did you transition into writing?
At the end of my photography career, my mom became ill, and her husband, who was my stepfather, and they moved across the street from me, and I took care of them for 6 years. And when it was over, my friend said, "You have to come to this writing conference." And that's when I I went.
Okay. And
And I brought my work up to that point, which I thought was fabulous. Because I think
nice.
everything I do is fabulous. Except that I found out I didn't know very much at all.
But at least you had the confidence, right?
Yeah, I had the confidence.
You had the confidence, so you had a positive expectation. What was the first written piece that you did that you really felt proud about?
I don't remember if I know the name of it offhand, but it's on my site. What I did is, as I was recovering from my husband's death, I wrote when I could finally start to focus on positive things.
Right.
I started writing essays about understanding who I was and who were the heroes around me, and just dealing with pain and loss. But I didn't ever publish them because someone who had looked at them said, "You're not talking about your husband." And his death is the whole impetus for all this writing.
Right.
And I couldn't do it. It took me 20 years. I did it the first year at the Writers' Conference.
Wow.
Which was very interesting to me.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to express my condolences on the loss of your husband.
Oh, thanks.
And also
88.
Yeah, and also to having the courage to overcome those feelings and begin to share from your heart and to benefit not only yourself but others.
I really feel for people going through that isolation of loss from one thing or another.
Okay.
And it's one of the things that drew me to the Goodman Project.
Well, you're reading my mind, because I was gonna ask the next conversation piece was gonna address is, how did the association come about with the Good Men Project?
Well, I was into writing, and I saw the ads to take the Good Men Project writing series. And I said, "Oh, I don't know, how much is this?" And it was like $50 to join and get this four series of writing things. And I said, I can do that, because generally they're very expensive.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and she said, when you're ready, you try to write something that means something to you, where you have an aha moment. And we'll see if it works with what we're doing. So my first aha moment was when I found out that gamers could enact on games abusing women. I was appalled that for fun, you could be very nasty to other people. Mm-hmm. And this isn't just shooting them as they run across the screen. This is gaming abuse.
What is your passion to write about men? Where does that base come from?
All men are somebody's son.
Don't need to add anything else. That's all. That's beautiful. Don't need to go any further. You know what? That's a good transition into the conversation piece we're going to address this evening about your article, Men Develop Lasting Relationships by Shelving Male Expectation Myths. Why did you write this article?
I'm very concerned with the suicide rate for men. There's a high suicide rate for women, but it's different ages, different reasons. But women have a more of a community, because we've been taught to talk and share. And when we're in pain, either in a marriage or in a relationship, we feel comfortable sharing with another woman or friends, because it's part of, I don't know, it's part of womanhood, I guess, that you're going to go through these things. And everybody seems to have been through the same thing one way or another. So there's there's almost a DNA understanding of what's going on.
Okay.
Men don't have that because they're not taught to talk about their emotions. And they're not taught that it's okay to sit around and feel and express it. So they're locked in a box that they don't know necessarily how to get out. I'm hoping that children are being taught differently now, but men my age or who are now 45 to 64, which is the ages I was addressing, if you happen to lose your job and you happen to lose your wife and your family or your children through any means whatsoever, it's very isolating because there's very few places you can go to balance the pain.
So good. Go ahead.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the statistics I quote periodically that of the suicides that are committed by people over 40 years old, 80% of them are by men.
Yes.
And also it's the same statistic about teenage suicide too, that a high proportion are committed by young boys. So I understand 150% where you're coming from, and that message needs to be really, whenever I share that with people, especially people who don't know it, they go, wow.
It's awful.
It is. It's a big challenging situation. You cited a Harvard study. Yes. In your article. Can you give us a little background on that study that you cited in your article?
I would have to actually click on it and look at it.
No, but
to be
okay.
Specific. But what it was is that over a 75-year period, a group of sociologists from Harvard studied a group of men from some were from like a prep school and some were from the streets. And they followed them for 75 years, touching base with them periodically. And they found out that for all the different things that men go through, the thing that kept them the healthiest in mind and body were relationships. Nothing else really mattered.
Yeah, I not surprised. Not surprised. And one of the findings that you got out of this survey or study was that married men in good, happy marriages fare the best.
That's right. They keep their minds longer and they keep their health longer.
Okay, so then you come up with a good question. Why can't middle-aged men find happiness? Why can't they?
I know. Well, you're asking me.
Yeah. Well, you can cite the survey, but I also would like your take too, because I consider you a thought leader in this area.
Well, the reason that I came up with is because men have expectations of the people they see themselves with. And when you're in your 45, 50, you're hitting an age where you may not be as attractive as you think you are. Men may not be as attractive as they think they are to the mid-30-year-old woman. Of course, she's a yoga teacher and in perfect body conformation and bright and charming and funny and all those things that you need. And they don't really know what to do about that because that's the expectation that other people have for men to have. Their dates matter to how they look publicly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's another thing that one of the things I share when I get a chance to share with men. I guess I'll start with this premise. Most men think linear.
Yes.
1 + 1 = 2. Whereas, and this is generalization, folks, women can handle 1 + 1 = 3 better than 1 + 1 = 3. Most men can't handle that. We like things straight, narrow, 1, 2, 3. Based on that background, there are at least two moments in a man's life where he's not level. And I compare it to if you've ever ridden a motorbike and you're not the driver, but you're the passenger.
Yeah.
There are times you're going to get into dips and turns. So That's one right. of the turns is when a young man gets out of college or university. He's not a boy anymore, but he's not a man yet.
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't know his identity, or he's not. Most men aren't saying I don't have an identity, but then we get to the age group you're talking about, men in their 45, 50s. They're not an old man yet, but they're not a man anymore, and they have these feelings of, well, a lot of them say I haven't accomplished what I wanted to accomplish by this age, or unstable.
That's right. I think the definition men have of success, which is money and power primarily, is not the definition that women have of success.
Yes. That's
so
true.
I think that encroaches on how they perceive themselves. So where they may feel somewhat of a failure, a woman listening to their story might not see that at all.
Okay.
Because that's not what's important.
Agreed. And I want you to expand on this one, this conversation piece, because I think we could do a whole conversation just on this next piece. I'm quoting your article, as in all else, so quote, as in all else, things change, and no change has baffled men more than the accomplished woman, unquote. And in lieu of that statement, in lieu of what's going on in the media these days,
yes,
you knew you were dropping a little bit of an atomic bomb with that statement.
Well, it's been around a little while, but yes. It wasn't a new statement to me.
No.
I think that over the years, women have been seen as the homemaker and only going out to work when she absolutely has to. But primarily, men are looking for someone who will take care of their lives so they can go out and work and come home and do whatever they need to do, and there'll always be someone there organizing their life and their children. But today, because there are more divorces and women are having babies out of wedlock, and families now are growing up with single parents, especially women, that they have now the same obligations that the men do who are available for dating, because they're all older and they now have lives and they have responsibilities. And I don't think that, I think they expect the woman to give up everything she's done, and I think that's not going to happen, because women want to have companionship, but they don't need it because they are taking care of themselves now. So there's a lot more to entering a relationship than just saying, I'm available, you want to get married. It has to be, this is what I bring, this is what you bring, and can we make it work?
I'm going to build on this conversation piece, but Think TV has an interesting comment here. She goes, and I think men may base part of their success on what type of women they have, or woman they have.
Yes. Because it's image.
Okay.
They think if they have the right image on their arm, then they're going to add to what people perceive them as in powerful and successful.
This thought process about men still being baffled by accomplished women, it's been around for a long time. But why are you seeing a little bit of a change in men's thought process on this? Or I know we still probably have a long way to go, but at least over the years, do you feel it's changed a little bit with at least some men?
I'm sure. I'm not talking about all men ever.
Understood. I fully understand that.
I think some understand that you want someone who's in your time availability slot, so that if you're retired, you might want to find a woman who's retired so that you can both do this things together, and work doesn't interfere with that. So there's a certain point where you're not really looking for the woman who's working. But if you're going to look for a younger woman as opposed to an age appropriate, then I think you're going to have problems. Because the interests are different. That's a
challenging point too, because again, we have the whole aspect of boys and their toys, and some, and it's true, and yes. some men who are in the demographic we're talking about right now, wanting to relive things in the past they didn't have.
That's right.
Which I don't hear the term as much as I used to, called midlife crisis, but I that boys and toys thing, say, you know what? When I was younger, I didn't have a stunning young lady, but now it's time to do that.
Absolutely. And they can also hook up on things like Tinder
Yep.
and other apps where in order to have sex, you don't have to go out per se.
It's concerning. And what do you think this effect will have, what we're talking about right now as we progress through our conversation? What is that effect is that having on younger men, do you feel?
Which part? The Tinder?
Well, not the Tinder part, but the aspect of what you say about not, or do you, let me rephrase it another way. Do you feel that younger men are handling the changing roles of women better than their fathers or the generation ahead of them?
I don't know. On the Good Men Project, I'm on the dating relationship conversation, and there's a great deal of difficulty with young men finding appropriate women because they're not really sure, I don't think, what they're looking for, because they're in between.
Right.
They're in between. I really would like a mother to pick up after me so I don't have to worry about that stuff. But I really want someone I can talk to who has a life and is not totally dependent. And finding that connection, I think, is very hard for people.
Well, I think even it must be even more challenging for men that are not educated about relationships, like just relations with other men. That adds
that
would add another level of challenge to that difficulty, or another level of difficulty to that challenge.
I'm sorry.
No,
it's even having the conversation that starts a relationship. That's hard. What do you talk about? And
it's interesting too, because I think the number one relationship a man or any person should have is with themselves.
I agree.
And it sounds on these conversations that you're having with men, you may sometimes go, this person doesn't have a good, you're concerned, how's their relationship with themselves, let alone relationships with others?
That's right. I can't answer that, but you can. Yeah. Do men have conversations with themselves about being different or better or more open? Or
I think with a number of men, I won't say a number of men, they don't have starting those conversations until either something happens in their life that could threaten their life, or another time can be when they lose their father. Something, in a lot of cases, something challenging has to happen in their lives to realize that they're not invincible and they can't carry on the way they have, because they almost lost their future.
That's right. And they were just proven that they're not, I lost the word. Not invincible, but that they can die too. It's not, life is not eternal. You have to make use of the time that you have, because you never know when it's going to go.
I love another quote here from the article. You have, quote, "All is good until the day men find their relationships are gone. Parents inaccessible, friends busy with their own lives, job meaningless and stressful. If there is a job, a society puts a premium on youth, ignoring experience, wisdom, and perspective." It's deep, but real.
It's true, though.
I almost get a picture almost of a man standing in the middle of nowhere, lost.
I think it happens that way. And it happens to women also.
But I
think women have other tools, though, that give them a path out of that desert, and men not so fast.
And would you also say, and we're making general statements here, in most cases, women build a community better than men do?
I would say that's true, but I will tell you from my own experience that not all women reach out all the time either.
True.
And,
I agree.
and there's a big time of isolation, self-imposed often, and you have to learn that it's okay to reach out. And it's okay to be vulnerable, and there are many different ways to do it. I mean, you can go to groups, or you can just start going to interest groups that are not emotionally challenging, but at least you're not isolated.
Excellent.
But it's hard, and I think men reach out harder than women because they don't reach out normally during their lifetime, and I think women tend to.
And we're just going along in the article here, so we're just having a nice little journey. Also, you compare, and we're making generalizations, life like for women 45 to 64 compared to life for men 45 to 64.
I don't know that I can compare a man's life.
Well, okay.
I can tell you that when I hit 50,
yep.
I was free of social conventions as far as I was concerned. Mm-hmm. And I stopped caring and just did my thing. And it was very freeing because there was no other way for me to go if I were going to survive. My husband died when I was 45, so I had a little bit of time to think about that. And when I realized that I wasn't going to be married again so fast, then I had to work on me. And my choice was to build the highest quality of life I could for myself, and then take a reevaluation in 5 years and see how I'm doing. And not to restrict myself to what I knew, but to say yes to new things and go out and at least try them.
That's a good thought process.
So a lot of it has to do with the person who has to make a decision that they're going to lead a different life. Not the same one that brought them to the point of despair, shall we say, or intense loneliness. But they have to make a decision to at least try and give themselves enough time to build that life. Because there's many paths. Oh, let me do it this way. We do have a path in life. I probably agree with that. But it's really wide, and there are a lot of doors. And you have an option to walk in the middle or the side or take side roads or go high or go low. But you have to be willing to take that first step. And it's never easy, but it can be done. And I don't know that men have enough opportunities because of the way their lives go to learn that. Because of, as you said, men look straight ahead and it's a straight line. And women have learned, I think, to take those curves a little bit because often the straight line's crowded with men. So
the good point. Good point. Just to that's a good point. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I think that there's no experience, and that makes it harder for them. So when I write about stuff like that, I try to open up at least give yourself the chance to come out.
Nice. I'll just quote from Carol's article. She says, invisibility starts around 45 to 64. This is the critical time when men age out socially and women age out visually. She says for men, because she gave her women's take on it, it's harder. Men become invisible to the prized young women in the dating scene and find that they are targeted to be replaced by younger workers. Many take these two signs as evidence of their disposability, which initiates a spiral into depression. The isolation feeds excruciating loneliness. And she then gives some statistics about the high rate of suicide amongst men in this age bracket, which is the 45 to 64.
It's shocking, actually.
I had heard that stat a long time ago, so it's not shocking to me anymore. It's concerning and challenging, I would say. in regards to that, and it's hard. It's hard. What some of your comments as we go on through the article here about men trying to get the strength to explore the rest of their life. It's not an easy challenge, but it's a great challenge.
I think so. I think so. I've got an entrepreneurial spirit from somewhere. I don't know. But
okay.
I've done about 7, 8 different occupations, one after the other, because things would pull me different ways. And I don't know that that's always open to people. So they only know one way. And the whole idea is that there are so many different lives out there that every day that we learn and read and educate ourselves, it gives us another piece of the puzzle that gives us a wider appreciation for the things that we're able to do. And then we need to try.
Which brings up a very, very interesting conversation piece. It's, from what I hear and listen to, that men are more risk takers a lot of the time than ladies. But it seems in this area here, there's a bit of hesitation.
I think so. I think they're risk takers when it relates to money and power, but they're not so much a risk taker when it comes to themselves and feeling safe and embraced.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's easy, I think, and for women too. I think for people, if you find a relationship that works for you, now I'm not saying it works for the other person, but it works for you.
Right.
You're comfortable in the relationship, you know what to expect, and you know what's going to happen, good or bad, doesn't matter, just as long as it's something you can depend on to act a certain way, and then that's gone, then I think there's a problem in reestablishing new relationships because you haven't had to explore that one very far. You get comfortable in your rut.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot to turn the wheel.
And for entrepreneurs like yourself, comfortable doesn't exist in your vocabulary.
Not too much. But I'm okay with that because I'm challenged by change.
Most of us are.
But my house, I put the furniture down, I like it, and it's not moving. I'm not the one who comes home and moves furniture every 2 months to make it feel different. No. Home has to be good, and the rest of my brain can be in chaos, and that's okay.
I think there's a good point there for the men out there that are listening, the men and those who love them, who listen to this, and that make sure you have your foundation right. Everything else could be crazy, but if you have it's in it. And for those people who work out, most personal trainers will say you have to have a good core.
That's right.
And the core is this area here, your sternum, your chest, have a good core. Everything else can be out of control, but as long everything goes back to the core. So if your core is strong or your foundation strong, it enables more success in other areas. So,
and that goes back to what you said about men knowing who they are.
Very important. It's
comfortable because once they know that, they can do anything.
Well, you know what? I've been told by a number of ladies, there's nothing more attractive than a man who knows who he is.
I would say that's true.
Absolutely. But then there's nothing more frustrating to women for a man who does not know who he is.
And not willing to explore.
Exactly. Yes. I was going to add on to that, saying the frustration part is that the good part is he doesn't know who he is, but he's not willing to find out who he is.
That's right.
Nice.
I think the biggest frustration for a woman meeting a man in conversation is someone who isn't going anywhere, either in thought or deed or whatever.
Right.
They're just stuck where they are and are looking for people to come into their world as opposed to stepping outside their world and making a compromised world.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Because women are not all women, but most women are involved. And when they're out looking for someone to be with, they want to be with other people who are involved. And that means men too. So meeting a man without goals or interests or, I just want to sit on your couch and watch TV, it's not going to get them very far, I don't think, in a relationship kind of way.
Okay.
Because we want to share. We want someone to share our lives with.
Yeah, want someone who has purpose.
That's right.
Absolutely. And you say something here that I was in a conversation with someone this afternoon, and I said the same thing, that relationships are the cornerstone of life.
Yes, for sure. And all relationships, not just sexual.
Makes a lot of sense. And also another quote here, you say, relationships are no longer born out of frustration.
That's right.
Where does that come from? I think that's quite the quote. I love it. Got my attention big time.
They're not, I'm not sure what I meant by that because I don't actually have the article in front of me.
Well,
but we're not looking to hook up with somebody because we have nothing better to do.
There you go.
So if your life's not working for you, you're not going to hook up with someone whose life isn't working for them either.
Well put.
So it's better if you are looking to move forward and are looking for a partner to move forward with. For both a men's perspective, I think, and a woman's perspective.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll just close off here and start winding it down here with, I'm going to read the last two paragraphs of Carol's article because I think it's right on. So, quote, relationships are no longer born out of frustration. Rather than need a partner, the new emphasis is wanting a partner who is comfortable in their own skin, has nothing to prove, dealt with the past, emphasize that, lives in the moment, has interest, curiosity, and a positive can-do attitude. Add mutual attraction and ability to laugh at life's absurdities and respect. The result is an energized relationship that enhances emotional and physical health. Put down your phone, man, and shut down your TV and your computer. Go out, open your eyes, have conversations, and build relationships. It's the healthiest thing you can do for yourself. Fully agree on that.
And I think that's the hardest thing for a guy sitting alone in an apartment to do.
True. Yeah, I think I love doing spin cycling, and I get YouTube videos, and I know on one of the spin cycle classes, the instructor says, in order to find yourself, you got to lose yourself. I love that quote. What sort of reaction have you had on this article? Because it's done fairly well on the Good Men Project. What kind of feedback have you had?
I had one gentleman who said he had just finished a divorce, and he was feeling very lonely and didn't really know what to do with himself, and the article helped give him some direction.
Wonderful.
So, okay, I'm one person at a time. I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
And another was from a woman who said she reads relationship articles all the time, but she's never seen one that addresses women of a certain age.
Wonderful. That is great.
That's and she was very excited because she found someone that she wanted to be with, not had to be with, and they were having a great relationship. Yeah,
Bravo.
I know. So
that's great. That is really,
nice.
Really great.
It's nice to feel that maybe there's someone out there that's feeling better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is up next, writing wise, for yourself?
I have some articles coming out. One is about the men in the Me Too issue. In the sense that together, awake men and women have to come together to fight the patriarchy, because we have to take over the elections in 2018 and 2020. And we're not going to be able to do it separated.
Good point.
So we have to agree that we cannot let ourselves be dictated to by a certain group of people that have no egalitarian hormones.
And we're gonna save Carol's additional commentary for another conversation because she's got comments.
Lisa and I are doing a series of articles on a platform for informed voters.
Wow. So definitely more to come. So
more to come. Yeah.
Let me ask, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
If they Google me, it's Carol Bluestein. I have a website, carolbluestein.com. And on the Good Men Project, they can Google CL Bluestein Good Men Project.
Wonderful. Any final words you have for men before we end our conversation today?
I think men are wonderful, and it's painful to find out how society has abused and used men and forced them into a similar silence as it has forced women. And I think that if all of us can find our voices again, that we can make a huge difference in the way this world works and bring back empathy and positivity that I think is lacking.
Well put. Well, there it is. She is on for the first time, but definitely not the last time. Carol, I'd like to thank you for taking time in your positive, productive schedule to appear on the Dr. Vibe Show, Home Epic Conversations. You're going to be back, I know, very soon.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. It was certainly well worth it, and better. You were out of bounds, and that's a good way. That's a compliment for me. You are out of bounds.
Thank you.
It's Dr. Vibe here. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. If you want to catch epic replays of epic conversations like this that I do via YouTube, just go into YouTube, put in the search engine DR VIBE space SHOW. If you want to listen to audio replays, and let me get back to the YouTube channel, there's about 350 replays there. So, and almost 300 followers, which is that done in basically 6 or 7 months. So appreciate it. So if you feel like becoming a subscriber of my YouTube channel, please do. I'd appreciate that. Also, to replays of my audio conversations, you go to my website, drvibeshow.com. You can go to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher Radio, and also Google Play Music Store. You can listen to selective audio replays at thegoodmenproject.com. I've heard of that place before. And also WJMSradio.com. I'm also a brand ambassador for the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel. That's Cuisine Noir Magazine. The website address is cuisinenoirmag.com. I'm also providing a service called Getting Media Coverage, where I provide media promotion for businesses and entrepreneurs so they can elevate their business. And also, I'm a certified empowerment coach, president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. If you'd like a complimentary 30-minute session, please touch base with me at Twitter-wise at drvibeshow, email address dr.vibe at drvibeshow.com, or you can go to my website and fill out contact information there. 3 last things I'd like to say. First of all, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Also, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Actually, 2 more things. I want to actually thank Think TV for hanging in for the whole conversation. Thank you so much. And actually, she says, great article. So she referenced the article, so she really enjoys your article. So you know what? The contact information for Carol is on the post, and also be on the post for the replay of this conversation. Definitely reach out to her, and she would love to hear from you. So finally, God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. Thanks very much for stopping by. And if in about 10 minutes time, I've got another epic conversation coming up. So hang out with us. And thank you so much. And for those, happy holiday season, whatever you celebrate. But be safe and walk good. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Here's my hands.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. I have hosted and produced over 2,000 epic conversations over the last 10 years. And what makes our conversations epic? We don't do interviews. We do conversations.